This is the first of a three-part series in which we will discuss the differences between novels and films, using The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, as an example. In this part, we will discuss storyline differences.
When watching the movie, one of the first things you notice, a variation between the book and the movie, is Bilbo's birthday. Let's take a look at that scene. Well, I think one of the first things that we all noticed while watching the birthday scene was the appearance of Merry and Pippin. In the book, they don't actually make an appearance. In the movie, they kind of steal a firework and set it off, but they don't actually make an appearance in the book until later on.
I think the whole point of Merry and Pippin in the scene is just to provide comic relief and introduce the characters, show that they're of some importance, and just also keep the viewers entertained.
So one of the next things we noticed was Bilbo's speech. In the movie, much of the dialogue is the same as it is in the book, until it gets towards the end when Bilbo makes his disappearance. In the book, his disappearance is aided with Gandalf's special effects. In the movie, he just disappears.
The reason for this difference is that in the book, Gandalf knows ahead of time that what Bilbo is planning with the ring to disappear, and to keep the secret of the ring, he adds kind of the special effects to cover it up. While in the movie, it's kind of just spur of the moment. Bilbo doesn't tell him anything about his plans, and you can see in the clip that Gandalf is very surprised at what happens.
I think also in the book why they do this is you can't really see Bilbo disappearing, so it's like he adds the smoke so the reader gets like a clear view of what's going on, where in the movie you actually see him slip on the ring and then he disappears and walks back to his house.
Another noticeable difference is that in the movie it makes no mention to the fact that it's also Frodo's birthday that's being celebrated. In the book it reads, Bilbo was going to be 11, a rather curious number and a respectable age for a hobbit. And Frodo was going to be 33, an important number, the date of his coming of age.
It's important that in the book they mention Frodo's age because it sets a start for a timeline which is not in the movie.
This timeline also helps in the book. It points out that there's a 17-year time gap, basically between when when Bilbo leaves the Shire to when Frodo leaves the Shire to begin his quest. And in the movie, it's just, there's no mention of a time lapse. It just seems to flow on a couple minutes. The next part of the movie where we saw differences between the film and the novel was during the Journey to Rivendell scene.
So one of the things that we noticed in the book was that Arwen is not present when the company rides to Rivendell. In the movie, she makes a big appearance and actually takes Frodo on her horse to cross the river and make it there. In the book, it is actually Frodo rides alone, and he is given a horse by the elf Glorfindel, and Glorfindel is never mentioned in the movie at all.
The importance of Arwen in the movie is emphasized because, one, it creates a stronger love interest, as we'll see later, between her and Aragorn. But she really doesn't play that big of a role in the book because there's another character to take her place. In the movie, she's a combination of two characters. Also, in the movie, it's emphasized that Frodo, after he gets stabbed on Weathertop by one of the ringwraiths, he's too weak to really do anything, so it wouldn't really make sense for him to be able to ride alone and kind of ward off the ringwraiths in the river. So a minor detail we noticed when we were going along was that the horse Frodo was riding to Rivendell was having trouble crossing the River Bruin towards Rivendell, while in the movie the horse had absolutely no problems getting across the river. While it may not seem important, it's just interesting to note that in the streamlining of the book into the movie, many minor details were left out to emphasize the significance of the main struggle, while in the book it's to kind of just recount their whole expedition and tale.
Another significant difference we noted while reading the book was the whole company, which is Aragorn, Glorfindel, and the hobbits, travel across to help Frodo with the Ringwraiths, but the flood sweeps them and the Ringwraiths, whereas in the movie it's just the Ringwraiths who get swept. Also, Frodo in the movie is the only one who wakes up with like little recollection of what happened, but in the book, everyone wakes up in Rivendell with wondering what happened.
Alright, so the significance in changing this scene from the book into the movie is that since it's just Frodo and Arwen who are traveling along, it kind of doesn't make sense to have everyone show up randomly at the river and then just get swept away in the waters, especially since in the movie Arwen is calling on the water to help her and Frodo get away from the Ringwraiths. Also, the fact that it is only in the movie the Ringwraiths who get swept away is kind of a subtle showing of the triumph of good over evil that is kind of hoped for throughout the entire series.